So this is an attempt to call for volunteers as well as mention a couple of couple of projects that we are that are in development right now. Um, First of all, as you can imagine, with looking out at the horizon when trying to decide what kind of exhibits and what kind of projects to work on, one can look at a calendar often and see the anniversary of a particular event. And a lot of activity has been given to the sesquicentennial of the American Civil War, but perhaps not as much activity with the anniversary of World War One. There are many, many institutions in the Delaware Valley that have significant resources dealing with World War One, and we think that it would be opportune to make them available as both a guide to students and researchers, as well as to memorialize those that served in that conflict. To that end, we have started with the Historical Society of Pennsylvania and the College of Physicians of Philadelphia as well, and several other institutions to create an online exhibit that will run the entire duration of the war, the anniversary of the war, starting in September of next year and running to 2018 or 2019. There will be social media anniversary events that are occurring 100 years ago. As well, new materials will be digitized and added. And those materials, as well as sections of the online exhibit, will be curated by experts, librarians, and interested parties. Would you like to be one of those interested parties? My card is at the front desk. Please feel free to take it. We are looking for volunteers to work on the project. In addition to scanning material, and we have two interns working at this semester at Villanova, as well as the Historical Society, just concentrating on scanning World War One vintage materials. We've also enlisted a number of faculty that will be writing sections of the exhibit. And we are looking for both institutional partners to collaborate as well as individuals to work on particular sections. Even if your institution has no World War I content, please consider volunteering. And because everything ties to dime novels, as Laura had mentioned, one of the international dime novel series is in Spanish. That was written during the war. That is now available all online. As well, there's a Dutch dime novel that was also done during the war. All of the issues that are available are online. And if you look at even local resources, such as the Public Ledger, the absolutely fantastic color supplements have not been digitized anywhere, and they are now available online, and they even have dolls and illustrations. So making those kind of materials available is really important. And Google has not digitized everything. Even hardcover fiction is still largely, in certain areas, uncollected and undigitized. Here are two children's series books that glorify the war and talk about the wartime experience that had not been digitized by Google and are now available online for your use. And some of those texts are going to get filtered into distributed proofreaders, and so there will be high quality OCR available for teachable texts, as well as text that can be used to highlight various parts of the conflict and what it was like, as seen through children's eyes. So that was the first plea. The second one is, I know some of you may be coming to VUE class tomorrow. Let's see a show of hands of those that are coming. So some of you are coming to VUE class. VUE class is our inaugural attempt to provide workshop space in an academic library. And we have two fantastic workshops that we'll be giving tomorrow, but they're both done with Villanova staff. That are experts in their particular area. Our hope is that we will be able to provide similar kinds of expert workshops in future years. Indeed, View Class 2 is available right now for sign up, and there are 2 presenters. Both of those presenters are not affiliated with Villanova, so we are essentially facilitating the workshop and making sure that it is vetted, appropriate, to those experts that want to share with other professionals, as well as the public. So, again, the spring semester information for View Class 2 is available at the desk. Please take one and please register if they're at all interesting to you. But also, if you have an idea of a vocational or avocational topic that you would like to freely give away for a 2 or 3 hour workshop, next summer we're going to have slots available. Next fall we're going to have more workshops available. I would encourage you to consider giving back to the community by hosting by contributing, and we'll host the workshop for you. Thank you very much. Any questions?
We have something here that we call the Blurt Project, which is that we often will have meetings and somebody will say something, often a joke, and because of that blurted out statement, they suddenly gain a new project that has to be completed. We were just talking about this morning. This entire conference is a Blurt project. DimeNovels.org is a Blurt project. And a corollary to the Blurt project is the reverse Blurt project, which is where you blurt out something and then assign that work to someone else, usually someone who isn't in the room with you.
Like Dave Uspel.
Usually Dave Uspel. Right? No, I'm not doing that to you right now. But this Lightning Talk is a reverse Blurt because apparently the Lightning Talk board wasn't filling up quickly enough, and somebody said, "Get Damien up there to talk about Bride of the Tomb." So here I am. So as I talked about in the earlier talk, we use distributed proofreaders to create e-texts from some of the dime novels in our collection, and then this leads to other things. You have this nice text now. What can we do with it? So we're doing a lot of things with our favorite, which is The Bride of the Tomb by Mrs. Alex McVeigh Miller, which I already have urged you once to read. But the thing is, you don't actually have to read it because we can read it to you. Because one of the projects that came up was that I was talking to Laura, and she has some interest in audio production. And so we collaboratively blurted ourselves into starting a podcast about dime novels, which if you go to dimenovels.org and click the little podcast link in the footer, you can get to not just excerpts from interviews with Eddie LeBlanc, which are fun, but also the Middy's Storytime podcast, where we are reading The Bride of the Tomb in its entirety, and every other week we add 1 or 2 more chapters. So I encourage you to listen to that, and also preview coming soon. I didn't actually directly confess this earlier, but when I say that I am interested in bibliography of other types of series fiction, it's choose your own adventure books. I am an expert on the history and development of choose your own adventure books. And if you go to gamebooks.org, you'll find my comprehensive bibliography of, it's crazy, and that's another whole story. But I am writing Bride of the Tomb, the Choose Your Own Adventure book, which is called Groom of the Tomb, and allows you to take the role of Lancelot Darling, the incredibly ineffective hero of Bride of the Tomb. And you can find out what the story would be like if Lancelot actually did something other than sit around and mope for the entire duration of the book. Spoiler, sorry. So anyway, you can have lots of fun with texts. We are certainly doing that. Join in the fun.
Well, hi, my name's Ashley Learman. I'm the Instructional Technology Librarian at Rosemont College, which, if you don't know, is about a stone's throw that way, I think. And mostly I'm just here to brag on a colleague, full disclosure right up front there. A faculty member at Rosemont, Michelle Moravec, this semester has been working with her History of Childbirth course, an upper-level history course, to do some knowledge creation tasks and some archival tasks to have the students actually learn to do some content creation. And Michelle's been very involved in digital humanities. We had a great time at that camp together, and she's been very interested in teaching students to edit Wikipedia and to get involved in information conversations in the digital humanities. And this has been another step in that process for her. And her course essentially took items, artifacts, actual things like birthing gowns and forceps and birthing chairs that were for sale on eBay as antiques, and giving those to her students to basically apply metadata to and create mock Omeka records for. So as training for a possible archival futures. There are a couple students in the class who are actually interested in library science as a career, which is great. And one of the sort of end goals of this process as a teaching experiment was to start training students to go through pins related to childbirth on Pinterest and repin them with Dublin Core style metadata applied for some sort of provenance, which if you've ever used Pinterest, you know is a serious problem that it has, that there is often no sourcing with anything posted there. So Michelle pulled me in to go over Dublin Core with her students, which they were absolutely terrified of. I've been doing a lot of working with instructional design this semester, and working with the ARCS model. I was thinking the C for confidence, that was definitely the part we needed to focus on. I had their attention, it was very relevant. They needed some serious vitamin C. So I was able to build them some toolkits and take them through the structure of Dublin Core and go over what exactly it was they were supposed to be doing with all of these scary looking fields and what a controlled vocabulary is, which is a very important step in that process. And really was able to bolster their confidence and give them the tools that they needed to work on that project. So I felt very privileged to be a part of that project because I think that's a great idea, and she's doing some really interesting stuff over there. So just wanted to share that with you all.
In the early 80s, Montgomery County was about to celebrate its bicentennial. And one of our professors, I'm Jerry Arnetsky, Emerging Technologies Librarian at Montgomery County Community College. One of our professors, the history, yes, thank you. One of our professors of history, Joseph Eckert, was vaguely remembered hearing that on the Schuylkill River there used to be an old film studio, and he was wondering, has anybody ever heard anything about this? And so he talked with the organizers of the bicentennial. Oh, come on. Show this fun film. Please try again. Either way, I'll try to talk and figure out technology at the same time. Let's do ready-made made. What the heck? Either way, he talked with the organizers of the bicentennial who were trying to create a book. And it's like, is anybody doing any research about this? And they basically told him, congratulations, you are. So over a period in the next couple of decades, he became the world expert on Sigmund Lubin, the filmmaker, and his Betzwood Film Studios. And he soon created a film festival. He collected the films, collected memorabilia, and this guy, by the way, is a forerunner of Charlie Chaplin, and he actually acted as, if I understand correctly, acted as one of his mentors. But this is very early silent film, accordingly, filmed in Philadelphia. So he later became an expert on Lubin and the Betzwood. And pretty soon, people from all over the world started contacting him, giving him more information. He started researching all the actors and actresses. And he then retired. He then, wanting a permanent place for the archives that he had collected over the umpteen years, has donated it to the college archives. When, at a certain point, a gentleman from Poland flew overseas to see this collection, combined with it was coming on the 100th anniversary of the first films that he created, combined with the fact that he was showing these once a year every May, I'm sorry, at the Betswood Film Festival. The equipment was starting to break down. All that kind of hit us like we got to get this stuff up. So Lawrence Green, our archivist, worked with Joe Eckert, and I did the technology underpinning of this. Lawrence started scanning everything in, and we've been posting it up to Access PA, but it was still a jumble. So we said, we have to create the story. We have to tell the story. So Joe and Lawrence basically emptied their brains into WordPress.com that I put together for them. And it started building, and we've been getting comments from all over the world, and he's been discovering new films that they never knew existed that were dubbed into Dutch and all kinds of things. But finally, the part about the films disintegrating, a lot of it was made out of nitrate, which doesn't like atmosphere very well. So we happily received an internal grant from the Foundation of Montgomery County Community College to digitize these films, and had NFL Films digitize them. I like this next part. Yeah, it'll happen eventually. But either way, but even after they were digitized, some of the funky things that we had to go through to get them to where they're happily living on YouTube. They're originally filmed at 18 frames per second. Nothing plays 18 frames per second anymore except the original equipment. So NFL had to digitize them at 24 frames per second. Then they delivered the raw digital footage, and then I digitally downscaled them back to 18 frames per second so that they could be viewed properly. And we still are working on getting more of the films up, and we're working on, as this has come to light, people have been donating scrapbooks, family of actors and actresses, and it's just been a lot of fun. The next part of the process, today, as of today, there's an exhibit at the National Museum of American Jewish History in Center City that has an exhibit on the filmmaker Sigmund Lubin. And also, buried in the vaults of the Free Library of Philadelphia is a lot of Lubin material that we are hoping to collaborate with them. We are working on bridging that gap at this moment as well. So, but it's located at mc3betswood.wordpress.com, and it's been a lot of fun. But the fun part to me is just going down the rabbit hole. You follow an actor, you follow a film, and it just keeps going because there's family, there's people involved, and some of the actors, Louis Bennison, who played one of the cowboys, his backstory is crazier than any of the actors that are on the front page of People magazine today. They don't hold a candle to this guy. Murder, mayhem. It's just the whole shooting match. But either way, I'll leave you with this film, and any questions?